Let's get started. So we're here with Odin Clack at Odin Leather Works.
Odin Leather Goods.
Odin Leather Goods, sorry, who's a leather maker of all sorts.
Yeah.
And with a couple of retail places.
Yeah.
But the first question is, who is Odin Clack?
Wow, hard-hitting questions. I could probably talk about everything else. That one's harder for me, actually. So who is Odin Clack? I'm a husband. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Rochelle, who at some point in time you'll probably see walking around the background. I'm a father, which is very important to me. I have two young kids. I call them babies, but they're not babies anymore. Edward and Nazareth, 13 and 10, who, you know, I wish would stop growing.
Yeah.
And more than that, you know, I'm just a guy. I enjoy, well, I'll say this. My corporate background has always been in marketing and branding. So I came out of school, Texas A&M University. That doesn't mean much to people outside of Texas, I guess, but those of us who attended that school are very proud of it. It's almost like a little cult, and we're very proud of that. I mean, we're all in on Texas A&M, so we like to always get that in every conversation. I met my wife there as well. But I came out of school in 2002, and I immediately went into work for myself. By default, where I did graphic design, web design, and some marketing consulting for small businesses. And so I have a passion for that. I really enjoy it. I've done it now for 20 years in one way or another. And it certainly has helped me with growing this business, but you know, for me, it's never been either or. It's never been do leathercraft or that. It's been like, let's just do it all.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's worked out quite well for us.
So how long were you doing the marketing stuff for once you came out of uni before this all came to be?
So I spent, right out of school, I spent a number of years in Houston market, working for a couple of small, you know, groups there. And then I left, after about 4 or 5 years I left, and I came to Fort Worth, Texas, and I worked for a group there and a school district there where I did marketing work for them. Nice. And then immediately left them and worked for a consulting firm in Irving, Texas. And then I was with that firm for 10 years, I believe.
Wow.
The customer I was with started off as a client. It was just one of my clients, one of many clients I had. But I guess they appreciated the work I was doing for them so much that they asked me to join their team full time. And so I joined their team full time. After thinking I'd only be there 6 months, I ended up being there almost nine and a half years, something like that. I left them in 2017, I think it was. Was laid off, in fact, from that company, and there's a story around that, and I'm happy to share it, but I was laid off from that company and immediately went right into running Odin Leather Goods full-time for another 4 or 5 years, and but the whole time I split my time between Odin Leather Goods and the consulting work. Right. So, yeah. And I still do. So. Yeah,
and we'll get onto that because you do a lot, to be modest about it. So when did Odin Leather Works start, and how did it start? Did you ever see it being this?
No. I can answer that easy. No, never did I imagine that. 2012, so as the story goes, I actually had my son, who's now 13. He was 2 years old. He was in hospital for pancreatitis. Right. He was in hospital for 2 weeks and then out and then back in for 2 weeks. It was kind of a big deal at the time. But Odin Leather Goods came out of this time where I just left the hospital. My wife was trying to get me to leave the hospital for a little while and go drive around. I didn't want to go home, but I literally was driving around, and I passed by the store, and the sign on the outside the store, by the way, it's an town I'd never been into. So I was literally just driving. But the big sign says leather supply. Okay. I parked, you know, I've always felt like I'll go in any place. I don't care. I don't care how it looks. I will stop and go any place because I figured, I guess it's maybe a Texas attitude, but it's like, if I walk in, I can walk out, right? So I walked in, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They have these rolls of leather and these tools and all these strange things I'd never seen before. Smelled really good in there.
Yeah.
So okay, it's kind of cool. And I'm looking around, and I remembered I had this idea that I had been looking for a laptop case.
Right.
Nothing serious, just a laptop case to go in and out of the office with. And maybe because I was bored and I was kind of stressed at the time, I just dropped like $300 on stuff, excuse me, that I thought was going to help me make up my own laptop case. And I stamped it, I tooled it, I did all these other kind of things, random things. And my poor wife looked at me and says, oh, it's beautiful. She was lying when she said that. I know she was lying because it was not beautiful, but I appreciate her saying that. She was trying to make me feel good. But it turned out it was useful.
Yep.
A few other people said, oh, good job, you know. It took me like 8 days, like a week to make it. I didn't know how to stitch. I didn't know how to stamp. I didn't know anything about leather. I was just brute force, just trying to figure it out. But I was like, it's okay, but what happens if I make it again? And so I made the same thing like 7 times.
Oh, really?
I just kept on making the same thing over and over again. And each time I got a little better, a little better, a little better. By the 3rd or 4th one,
wow.
I'll introduce you to these folks real quick.
Yeah, that's cool.
By the 3rd, I'll just continue real quick. By the 3rd or 4th one, I started to say, well, maybe if I ask some questions or I read something, it may actually be better, not just, people just give me random compliments.
Yeah.
And it turned out, I got hooked. And then years later, I'm still doing it. But that's how it started, right? And after making a laptop sleeve, I made a wallet, and I made something else. About 6 or 9 months into it, someone asked me if I could make something for them after they've seen the work I did. And I said, well, I'll try it. And I literally would try anything. If you had an idea, I would try it. In fact, this guy here, I made things for him back then. Years ago. And I kept on trying thing after thing after thing. It was never a plan, though. It was never, It was just a creative outlet. It was something I could do in the evenings when I wasn't at work. And then it turned into something I was doing at nights, and then something I was doing at lunchtime, and then something I was doing any moment of the day when I wasn't at work. I was doing some kind of leather craft, just trying to learn. Yeah. And I just wanted to be better at it. Yeah. I wasn't trying to run a business. I wasn't trying to earn money. I was just trying to waste time and not be in front of the computer all night and all day.
Do you think it started because of the time and with your son being ill? Do you think it was a coping mechanism at that time?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't like sitting still. I didn't want to sit still. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to, And then on top of that, I was working so much on my corporate job. I was always on the computer.
Yeah.
Nonstop, day and night. Yeah. My side hustle at the time, I was doing more of the same thing I was doing during the day. And I was on the phone with guys in other countries at night on conference calls. It was just wearing me out.
Yeah.
And so, it was absolutely a coping mechanism. Since I was young, I always needed some kind of creative outlet. Right, I've done all kinds of things. I've drawn. I've done drawings. I've done some paintings. I've built guns. I've just find things to work on. I've done woodworking. Mm-hmm. It's always something.
Yeah. You do need that as well when you're sat at the computer a lot. Like 99% of my job sat at the computer. My job out with We Are Makers, and you just need to touch something, hold something, bend something.
That's it.
Stick a hammer on a nail. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You just need it.
I think a lot of creatives are missing that. Something tactical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as a lot of us are working in digital projects, right? But the problem is you deliver a digital product to your client, and the next day it's changed.
Yeah.
We're no longer needed, right? I think people need to work with their hands some kind of way.
Yeah, that's what I love about. So I love graphic design and graphic designers that do good stuff. But that's what the flags you've got behind. I love that because it makes a tactile version of what's on a screen, and that for me just hits.
Absolutely, and I've encouraged every creative I've met find some kind of way to work with their hands.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Yeah,
but I think it will aid in your other creative work.
Absolutely.
Let me pause real quick and talk to this.
Yeah, of course.
Clark, what's up, man? Let me introduce you. Clark and I have been buddies for a long time, and he had never been by here, which isn't uncommon. You have friends that you talk to on regular basis, and actually maybe you don't talk to them on a regular basis. We're good friends, but you may not see each other, every week or whatever. That's Clark and I, and some of my best friends are people I don't talk to every day. I talk to them once every 3 or 4 months.
We're the same.
I've got friends that I ain't spoke to in 5-6 years, and I'll just text them out of the blue and be like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
we'll go and grab food, and then that's it. It's cool though, isn't it? And it's like you've never not spoke to them.
I'm the same way. I have a buddy of mine that went to high school with. I came from a smaller town, Galveston, Texas, and it's one of the kind of towns. It's an island off the coast. It's just south of Houston. Any island, doesn't matter where you go in the world, it has a different vibe when you're on an island. Things kind of slow down, but it's a small town, so we all know each other. The first thing when someone says, "Oh, I'm from Galveston," you say, "What's your last name?" Because you're immediately trying to connect them to someone you know, and chances are, if you don't know their last name, you're like, "You ain't really from. You're not really from here. You just moved here. You're not really.
You're not from here.
Yeah, you're not from here
you're
yet.
An implant.
Right?
Yeah,
we don't know you, right? But the kids I went to preschool with are the same kids I talk to now. I call them kids, but same people I talk to now. I have buddies I haven't talked to in 3 or 4 years, but that one phone call, it's like we pick up right where we left off.
Yeah, and that's nice. That's special as well.
It is nice.
So talk us through. So for a lot of this, you were, well, even now you're still doing it, but in the very early days when you were hustling to get this off, you were still doing it full-time job in the marketing world. How did you balance that time?
Yeah. So there was no balance.
Yeah.
There was no balance.
Check.
It was just do.
Yeah.
There was not, well, how do I manage? It was just do, just get it done. And so I would literally, now I would say the balance came with my wife and my kids.
Right.
that I had to find balance with, because I can be a bit obsessive, and I can just work and cut things out. I didn't want to cut them out, and so after probably a year or two of not having a balance, I think my wife and I kind of had an agreement about, okay, there has to be some type of a routine in the evenings. You come home from work, before you go around to the garage and you're out there until 2 o'clock in the morning, let's do these things. And so the routine we eventually fell into was up at 6 a.m., get the kids ready for school, take the kids to school. Mm-hmm. I've always taken my kids to school. It's my favorite things to do. It doesn't matter how late I'm up. I get up, I take my kids to school. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes, but that's my time with my kiddos. Right?
Yeah.
I cherish that time, even now. But I would get up 6 a.m., get the kids out, get her started, get myself ready for work, have them dropped off by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning for school. I'd go to my day job, right? I'd work until 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If I was fortunate enough to have a bit of a longer time for lunch, I'd leave the day job, go home, because at the time, my job was half a mile away from my home. Mm. And so I would go home from work and work, in my garage for my quote-unquote lunch break, go back to work, finish the day out, 5 or 6 o'clock I leave, go home, and then I'd spend 5 to 9 or 6 to 9 with family, hanging out inside, whatever, and 9 o'clock, the kids are going to bed, 8:30, 9 o'clock, kids are going to bed, my wife's settling down, 'cause she likes to settle down for the evening. Mm-hmm. I don't. I like to keep going. I would go out in my home garage, and I'd work in that garage until I couldn't stand up anymore. In fact, I took all the chairs out of the garage for a period of time, because I noticed if I had a chair, I would sit down, which I would get tired fast. So I would just take the chairs out and I would just stand up all night long, and I'd keep moving. Yeah. And I could work longer. Midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., right? And then finally say, okay, that's enough. Go to bed, back up at 6 a.m., start it all over. And I did that for like 5 or 6 years and was happy to do it. Yeah. I like to think that one of the differences between me and so many other people that ask me about that question about how I did this is none of them like their day job.
Yeah.
I didn't mind my day job. I enjoyed what I did. I thought I was very good at it. I was building a career. It wasn't like I was trying to avoid that job. I was just adding on something else in my life. Mm. And so when people ask me, well, how do you make the transition? I was like, I'm probably not the best guy to ask, because I believe you should work your day job until there's absolutely no other choice. Yeah. Why would you quit? The only thing better than getting 1 check is getting 2 checks. Yeah. Right? This idea of being able to go to your day job during the day and know that, well, for me at least, I got to a point in my day job where I knew that I could go there, I could talk freely, I could contribute freely, and I could do it without fear of consequences or fear of what happens if I lose my job. Mm-hmm. Right? And I wasn't disrespectful or anything, but I was more open with my ideas and my opinions.
It's a newfound confidence. Now that, because I still work my full-time job, and now that We Are Makers is kind of finding its feet and getting rooted in this world, and it's becoming, not that it's fully sustainable yet, but it's on that track, I notice there's things that I'm able to be more me in my day job.
Absolutely.
And it's not that I wasn't more me in my day job, because I work with a great team and really, really good guys that fully support me and actually fully support this business as well. But there's it's a little bit of a shift, isn't it? It's a mindset shift where you're like, all right, I've got a little bit more flexibility. And actually, for me, it's meant I've enjoyed my day job more because I don't feel like, oh, what if I say this and it all collapses.
The boundaries kind of are more clear. Yeah. And I think you have a better sense of your value. Yep. And honestly, when they understand, my experience is when they understand also that you have other options, they know, well, he could just leave or she could just leave and we'd be in a bad position. Now, there has to be respect on both sides. Yeah, I fully respect those employers. I fully respected the job. I mean, I worked while I was there. I was invested in what I was doing there. Yeah. It wasn't my entire life, right? And I feel now I have a little confidence after doing this for a while that if I were to have lost that job, well, let me tell you what happened. So with that position, for that period of time as I was getting Odin Leather Goods started, the business was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I was making money. For a period of time, I was taking money away from the house, my wife and my kids, to invest into this hobby. I wouldn't even a hobby, it's like an experiment.
Right, okay.
I just want to see if I can do it. There was no long-term plans. I hadn't even committed myself.
So at this point, you weren't thinking about Odin Leather Goods being a business? It was just
never.
A thing?
I was just fiddling around the garage, doing things, right?
Some people play the PlayStation at night and I'm
out making leather. That's a great example. Yeah, right. I'm not going to sit and play PlayStation all night long. I don't have the attention span for that.
Yeah.
But I can work. And I can work with my hands and build stuff and be proud of that. That was my PlayStation, I guess.
Right.
There's never a plan for business. Okay? That said, I can be a bit of a driver, okay? And so I worked with small business in the past. I think at some point in time, my concern was, okay, I'm taking too much money out of the house. I've got to at least break even, which is my first goal. Let me just see if I can pay for this activity. Okay, so I started selling a few things here and there. Cool. I also thought to myself, well, you know what? During the day, I talk all day long about growing a business. I talk all day long about social media and ads and all these different things. I said, what if I use this as kind of my case study?
Nice.
I wonder if going to the office and saying, the reason why I know this works is because I've done it will help. And by the way, it did, because now there was evidence that what I was saying, my opinion, mattered because people could see that things were working for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I could talk more freely. We're talking about having the freedom to share your opinions. Well, I could share my opinions because I had evidence, I had proof, right? That's good. So breaking even. First, I was taking money out of my pocket and I was taking money out of the household, putting it into this hobby. Then I was not taking money out of the household. And then one day, instead of, me having to worry about what was in our account, I never looked at our account.
Nice.
I never looked at the account. I made my salary for my day job. It goes in the account. My wife has whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants with it. I never even knew what was in the account.
Nice.
I knew what was in my pocket because that was the money I was getting from my business.
Right. So you still had the security for the family because you had the paycheck, but you were then able to look at you as almost an independent entity because you had Odin Leather Goods.
I had we call it walk around money. I had walk around money in my pocket. Get lunch, or whatever I need, whatever. And then it grew from that to, okay, now instead of it being just walk around money for me, now it's like, oh, let me give this back to the house. My wife needs a new refrigerator, or whatever she wants,
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. No problem. It's like, that was cool. It's like, okay. Well, what if we really invested more into this? Right, and so...
Was that the point? Once you're like, I've now not got more than just walk around money, I'm able to actually put a little bit back into the house.
That was the point.
You're like, this could be a business.
Now I was like, okay, now we've got to organize. We've got to think. Originally, I would make anything. If you came to me and said, I want a pair of shoes or whatever, I don't know, whatever it is, if it was made out of leather, I would try it.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. It's a good attitude to have, especially in that early business. Yeah.
But when you start transitioning to the business, you start saying, okay, this is too much. I had a logo when I used haphazardly. In fact, Clark, he actually has items with the original logo on it. He thinks it's cool. But I had this logo, it was kind of cheesy, and I made this conscious decision, hey, we have to reorganize. We've got to get a new logo, a new name. We have to restructure this differently. I want a logo that is not so, my name is Odin, so this natural inclination to tie it to some kind of Viking thing. But if you haven't noticed, I'm not very Viking-ish. I'm just not me. Yeah. So we changed it so now it's no longer, it didn't have that cheesy, cartoony type thing to it. We're going to have Odin stand alone by itself, right? And so we have the script type logo that we've been using for the last 8 or 9 years. Well, that was because that was a conscious decision to be more focused on building a brand.
Right.
A brand that could stand on its own, right? And so we did that. We got new, materials. We started focusing on that. And then also, instead of just doing anything that people asked me for, I started being a little more focused on these are the items that I make. I still do some custom here and there, but I noticed custom was too stressful. I couldn't manage timelines, couldn't manage materials very well. We had to narrow it in. And so we went from making like 50 things down to making like 10 things, right? And we've expanded since then, but the idea was we need to be more focused on having a line of goods for Odin Leather Goods, right? And so that's what we've done. We've maintained that since then, is try to be more focused on items that support our brand.
Yeah.
Right? And again, all this was going on while I was working a day job.
Yeah. And how important do you think it is, and maybe some advice for other makers that are listening to this, because it's really easy to be like, I can make anything. So Paul Hamler said it, you can do anything, you can't do everything. How important was it to just go, this is what I'm going to do for the growth of Odin?
So if you think about it in terms of time management, resource management, you do have to narrow it in. I think as you're playing around trying to find yourself, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when you make the conscious decision that you want to grow a business, you do have to start being a bit more selective. Custom is a slow death.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah. Because I find that there's really a couple of different types of businesses when it comes to leathercraft. You either have a production person, okay, who they just want to be a manufacturer. They want to make tons and tons of stuff. They want to have a factory full of people. You have someone like me, I call myself like a pro-amateur type thing. Smaller business brand. We're more brand focused than anything here.
Yep.
And then you have artists. Okay, an artist will do whatever he wants, and he's going to charge a ton of money for it. Okay, but he's going to struggle for a number of years until he gets a name for himself. And once people know who he is, people will pay him great money for his great quality work. He will spend a week making one wallet, or a month making a bag, and it will be the most beautiful bag ever. Okay, but he has to charge a lot of money because he's only going to make 2, 3, 4 items a month. Okay, he has to charge accordingly. That's not who I am. That's not who we are here. We are a brand, right? We want to have a product line. We want people to say, I didn't want people to know me. I want people to know Odin as Odin Leather Goods.
Yeah.
Right? Not the guy, right? Because it's no longer just the guy. It's me and the team here. That's the transition we're trying to make. And we want to make good, solid quality items that are going to last customers' lifetime. We want to give them value, but we're not trying to make museum quality goods here. Occasionally we do.
Yeah.
We like that. It's fun for us, right?
But you can afford to do that now that you have a staple brand, can't you?
Yeah.
Like, that's a very clear business
we have to
decision.
focus. We have to narrow it in. We have to say, hey, we're going to make these 3 wallets. We're going to make these 2 bags. We have to focus in because we were stretched too thin. And so now, whenever possible, and my team has to remind me of this on a regular basis, but whenever possible, we don't make one of anything. We try to make multiples. If we run out of something and we have to make a new wallet, well, instead of making 1 wallet, we're going to work with Brandon. Brandon's going to make 20 wallets. Or we need to make 1 bag. We're going to make 10 bags. We try to batch things together. And when someone wants to come in and ask for something custom, more often than not, we're saying, well, we will modify things for you slightly, but it has to be based off of this one item.
These parameters, yeah.
Now, that said, as a leather crafter, I enjoy the artistry in the work. And so I will do custom projects when I can and time permits, but that's not the norm. The norm is production, production, production.
Right.
Now, the other flip side, the last type of maker you have is one who wants to be more of a manufacturer.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong desire to have a workshop full of 30 people sitting behind 50 machines, cranking out thousands of items for all these other brands. That's not really the desire I have. I'd much rather focus on our brand. And as we grow, instead of trying to bring more people in here, we will outsource and we'll work with other makers. I love the idea of working with other makers and saying, hey, he has some extra capacity and she has some extra capacity. Maybe we can have them help us with making some of these items. It doesn't matter if they're here in this workshop or they're in their home workshop. As long as they make it like we want it, then that's fine.
Love that.
Yeah.
So that was going to be one of my questions, is what your thoughts are on collaboration. You're obviously very pro collaboration. Yeah. What do you think collaboration would look like for you just now? Have you got anything in mind that you think would be cool?
Well, so we like collaboration with other makers.
Yep.
I mean, I have a fondness for makers and for leather craftsmen. We want to feed into that community, and it's been a thriving community. I would have never imagined that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of makers out there that want to do leather craft full time, but maybe don't have the business acumen or they don't have the resources. Well, instead of hiring tons and tons of people here, I'd like the idea of leveraging them and saying, hey, you can do the type of work you want to do, just do it for me.
Nice.
Right? So, maybe you have a hard time selling your bags. Well, how about you make bags for me? You can do it in your own workshop. I mean, that's the type of stuff I think we want to collaborate and do. We want to bring people into the fold, right, and not block people out.
Yeah.
And if it helps them, great. If it helps them get their businesses going, fine. I do believe there's plenty of space for all of us to be successful.
Yeah, I do.
If a guy opened up across the street, I'm probably going to walk over there and say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Congratulations. What can I do to help you?
Yeah. That's a nice...
You're better working together than against.
The chances are...
Yeah.
I mean, there needs to be a common respect, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But chances are, what he's making is different than what I'm making.
Yeah.
And the customers that like his stuff are different than the customers that like my stuff.
Yep.
So why can't we work together? Why can't we be supportive of each other?
And there's also that thing of someone goes, talking hypothetically, if someone's across the road, someone goes there and he maybe doesn't do wallets, he's like, hey, go and check.
Yeah.
Odin does wallets. Or he maybe comes here and you do something and go check such and such does something.
I try my best never to tell a customer no without another option.
Yeah.
I can't always give them a referral.
Yeah, of course.
But if someone comes here, which this actually used to be a boot shop here somewhere. I don't make boots, obviously. Yeah. When someone comes in and says, I want a pair of boots, I don't say, well, sorry, I don't make boots. I say, hey, I don't make boots, but you know who does?
Yeah.
3 blocks away, there's a guy who makes the most beautiful boots. I have a pair on now.
Yeah, nice.
Makes beautiful boots ever. Go talk to him.
Nice.
Now, I don't know if he does the same thing. I don't know if he refers people here. I don't even care.
That doesn't matter, as long as you're doing it.
I want the customer to know that I care enough about them, my business, and my neighbors to refer someone else.
Yeah.
If someone calls and they have a custom project, I'll say, hey, we'll take a look at it. If it's in the vein of what we do here in our wheelhouse, we're more than happy to help you out.
Yeah.
If not, maybe there's another maker, because we all are trying to run our businesses. We all need revenue. We all need orders, right? Just because I don't get the order doesn't mean I can't hand the order off to someone else.
Yeah.
Right? Why not?
Yeah.
His success is not, or her success is not going to hurt me.
Yep.
It's just better for all of us. So that's what we try to do.
You always go on about rising tide raises all ships, you know, and that's the, you know, the more, it's the reason that we do this, the more people know about independent makers and the more people that recommend to other independent makers.
It's better for all of us.
Everyone starts shopping with independent makers. That can't be a bad thing for anyone, not in this space. You know?
I hope that other makers have the same attitude, not necessarily just for my benefit, but for all of our benefit. If we all take that same collaborative approach and community-focused approach to business and to the craft, it's going to help us all.
Yeah.
You know, someone comes in, they want an ink pen. Okay, well, there's probably a list of people I can probably say, you know what, I don't make pens, but these guys do.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're looking at any number of things up there in the retail store. It's like, well, let me tell you more about that person. Let me tell you more about, we have some denim jeans over here, right?
Yeah.
I have 2 pair of denim jeans over there, and the reason why they're there is just so we can talk about the guy who makes them.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It's almost like a showcase of you. These ones might not fit you, but look, this is the guy. Go direct to him, and you'll get the ones that you want. That's cool.
Now, and I don't concern myself with asking them if they're doing the same thing. It's not a tit for tat type thing.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that they are all supporting the entire community like I'm trying to, right? I'm optimistic that they are, and I'm optimistic that the seeds we put out there will come back to us, and more often than not, they do. Yeah. There are as many customers we have, especially with our bigger projects. A lot of our big, you didn't ask this question, but I'll tell you, a question I get a lot is, how do you get these big projects?
Yeah.
I don't know. Chances are, when I have been able to ascertain where they came from, it's because of something I did 3 years ago for one person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it comes from. You treat everyone the same way, you do good work, you help people out. Or there was a big project we did this year. We did 750 shotgun shell bags for skeet and trap shooters, shotgun shooters. Well, that conversation was a year and a half ago, the first one. And I couldn't help the gentleman out at the time, right? But I referred him to some other people. He got what he needed from someone else, but he came back around to me for something when something I could do came across his desk. He's like, he couldn't help me out last time with this, but I know he can help out with this, and it comes back around. It just keeps on going.
Nice.
That's what we try to do.
Yeah, so that's what it's all about, isn't it? And that's good advice, I think, to other makers and other people that are craftsmen. So we talked a little bit about the community there. The leather worker community seems real good. Real. We've spoke to, obviously, Bill, Ben, yourself now, just in the few days we've been in the States, and the leather work community seems tight.
Who would have imagined? I never did, right? And when I talked to some of the older brands and makers in the community, it wasn't like that for them. So talk about the community. For one, I think it started on Instagram. For me, it started on Instagram. There is a strong leatherwork community on Instagram. When I started, there were like 3 or 4 people on Instagram that you could refer to. One was in Austin, Noah Marion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about Noah all the time. He was like one of 3 or 4 guys. There was a couple guys in the UK doing some leather work on YouTube. Nigel Armitage and a guy named Odin Leather.
Yep.
The only guys making videos. Now we're all making videos. They're all out there, right? By the way, I've met Noah, but I've never met the other 2 guys in the UK. But I talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
Because they were influential in how I got started, me learning the craft.
Right.
Cool. So they don't, I don't even know if they know what they did for me, but they did a lot, right? And so the leather craft community has just grown and grown and grown. There's tons of crafters now. And they all have their own style. I mean, we're all making wallets, we're all making belts, we're all making bags, but they all have their own little bitty style here and there. We talk about Ben. You know, I've never shaken Ben's hand, but we've had multiple conversations online and you know, over the phone.
He says hi, by the way.
Yeah.
I think very, very highly of him, right? I've bought items from him to sell in my store because I thought they were so badass.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't make it. Maybe I could, but why do I need to make it if I can just get it from him?
Yeah.
There's some leather workers in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Glad and Young Studios.
Yep.
2 young ladies. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah.
Beautiful work.
Yep.
Okay. I could probably make their bags, but why?
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They do a
They're
great
doing it.
job.
Yep.
So instead of trying to copy them, I say, well, heck, let me support you.
Yep.
I'll buy your items and I'll resell them here.
Nice.
Right? Why not support them?
Yeah.
And I think more often than not, you see things like that happen. And the people that are more collaborative than not, I feel like they're having more success in the space.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I think we're trying to reach outside of the community and we're trying to bring more people in. You know, we're trying to work with the vendors and the vendors know that the community as a whole has power. Right? Hey, don't take us for granted. Hey, big vendor with the big store that sells leather stuff, right? Don't take the community for granted.
Yeah.
Right? There's great people here, there's great power here, and we can as a whole influence, you know, certain things. And so I think we're starting to see that shift as well.
Yeah. Do you think having the retail space, and we should also mention that this is the second of 2 retail spaces, Do you think that gives you that extra power? And I don't mean power over people, I mean power to sit with people and support people.
Yes, probably more because people perceive it as being more influential than it is. I think people see the retail store as a, as if it like legitimizes the brand. I don't know that really plays out as being true. Certainly, a retail store does not define whether you have a good brand or not.
No, not at all.
But it does help, and it allows us to have partnerships. If you were to walk through the store, I'd probably say 75% of the items that we have in the store that aren't made by us are made by people that we know.
Nice. Cool. Like know personally.
Like we know personally. We call them up and say, hey, what's going on? Yeah. Can I help you? They call us, say, what do you think about this product? Right? One of them down in Houston, Man Ray Mercantile, I call Travis up and I say, Travis, I don't know anything about retail. Yeah. Can you tell me tips and advice, whatever? He's been extremely kind to share words of advice with me, very true, very pointed advice with me about what matters and what doesn't matter.
Nice.
Okay? He's earned nothing off of me. I don't think that he's earned a penny off me. I haven't paid anything. He's just doing it because it's good for the community.
Nice.
And so I try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And the brands we have up here, most of the brands are things that complement us. I mean, it is a retail store. We have to worry about merchandising. There are certain brands I think they make beautiful products, and I may advise them, say, hey, just so you know, you make a beautiful product, but you don't package it in a way that is friendly for a retailer.
Okay.
Right? Oh, good. That's good feedback to be able to give to people, though, isn't it? Again, it goes back to...
I didn't know it. I mean, I learned it the hard way, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll share that with them, and sometimes they take that, sometimes they don't, which is fine. But we talk to them. We talk to the brands. And there's some brands up there I don't know them. Yeah. Right? It's a retail store. We have to keep the store stocked with things. But most of them, I'm proud to say that we do know them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And you say you know them. It's not all local, though, is it? It's people from all over.
Yeah. I like to think that most of them are from the South, or they just have Southern personalities.
Yeah.
Okay. There's some brands up there that I think are like Oxford Pennant.
Yep.
Okay.
I followed them the other day. I think it was actually your... one of your posts that I seen it the first time.
There you go.
I was like, that's sick.
Albany, New York.
Yep.
Great guys. I've met them at different conferences we've been to, and I don't talk to them every day, but I love the work that they're doing. They have a very similar story. They've grown out of nowhere. They are just hustlers, right? Yeah. We support them all day long. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're not Southern, but they have a Southern attitude, and we respect that.
So this is it, isn't it? Because I'd recommended them to Ben as well. He's looking at a shop sign, and we wanted one just for the office. So was you posting? I'm sure it was you that posted it, and then I found them, and then and Ben just happened to be talking about it, and I'm like, hey, check this out. Yeah. I've just found these guys.
Great guys.
See, how important do you think the whole social media landscape is at the moment for being able to get stuff out like that?
I mean, it's massive in the sense that, we were talking about, I'm going to jump around a little bit if you don't mind. Talking about community. Some of the older saddle makers and boot makers that kind of really established the leather trade, they don't have the same attitude because their businesses were constrained by a region, by boundaries, like city boundary or county boundary.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a bit of a problem if someone moved into their town that did the same work that they did. Because they had a finite set of customers.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had to be more competitive about that, right? For the others of us that are getting into this craft now, it's not the same. Social media has extended the landscape. Yeah. We don't have a finite set of customers. That's why I don't have to worry if someone moves in next door, because I know there's plenty of customers go around for all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Because my customers aren't just people on this block or just in this town. My customers can be far and wide. Now, I do feel that there's value in focusing on your neighborhood, your community, right? I think you get more bang for your buck when you focus on your town. But I mean, I ship stuff all over the country, if not the world.
Yeah.
Right? So it has helped tremendously. Social media has connected me with those other makers and Ben and these other folks, that I talk to there's people I've literally been talking to now for 10 plus years.
That's crazy.
On a semi-regular basis. I've never been in the same room with these people.
Yeah.
I consider them friends. I get support from them. I hope I offer support to them as well.
That's
it's all because of social media.
Yeah.
Social media has its evils, but it also has these beautiful things that also happen there that I think people should, acknowledge.
Yeah, I think it's got its evils if you let its evils come through.
Yes.
I think if you concentrate on like many things in life, if you concentrate on the positives, only positives are going to come back out of it, right?
Well, I mean, the one evil within the leather craft community that I think we all have to be aware of, in our maker community, is competitiveness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is an evil, okay? Because I think that, I get a lot of messages from other makers and they say, oh, you're doing so great. I wish I had this. If I only had this thing that you have, I could do it too. It's like, man, that's a really rough way to live.
Yeah.
Right, is being that competitive and letting someone else define your race, letting someone else define your, your path, your journey, right?
Yeah.
And so I try to get people to think about, don't worry about what I did. This worked for me,
Yeah.
right? But I have to remind myself of this also because I see some of my peers, my counterparts, get some big fancy piece of equipment. They're just rocking stuff. I'm like, oh man, that is the greatest thing ever. I need that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't. That's their journey,
Yeah.
And so there's this fine line between being competitive and envious, or being competitive and envious of what someone else has and thinking you need to do it too, and being an admirer of the work. And I try to stay on that. I admire the work they're doing. There's so many makers that do beautiful work. I want to admire it. I want to learn from it. I want to glean lessons from it, but I don't want to fall in the trap of I've got to try to do the same thing. Yeah. I've got to try to do the same. Oh, I just thought I had an order for 1,000 pieces. I got to design something too like that so I can make it too and I can sell 1,000. We shouldn't be in that. We should say, good job.
Yeah. Congrats.
Let me learn from you. Oh, I see you're using this technique to be more efficient. I'm going to try to incorporate that into what I'm doing also. And if I get a big order, I'll get a big order, but I'm not going to chase after what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a brutal way to live.
Has that been hard for you?
It's always hard. It's probably hard for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for everyone to not want to achieve, because most small business owners are type A personalities where they want to, or competitive nature, they want to do more. They want to succeed. I want to succeed.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to succeed on my own terms. I want to say what success is for us, not based off of what we were talking about Ben, but what Ben's doing. Ben's a saddle maker, man.
Yeah.
He does beautiful tooling. You know what? I got these tools here to do tooling too. I would love to be able to tool like Ben does, but I'm not a tooler. I'm not Ben. I'll never be Ben. Okay? Well, I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not work out enough. We've got other things going on. I'll never be that guy. But it is.
But you will be Odin.
I will be Odin.
Yeah.
I hope so. I need to be. I need to be just authentically me.
Yeah.
Odin Leather Goods needs to be authentic to us.
We've spoke to a lot of makers, and one of the things that I appreciate most, and one of the things that seems synonymous with success, is just to be unapologetically you.
People are buying into you and your business, not somebody else.
Yeah, like when we shop with independent makers, and we try to shop with independent makers as much as we can, I view it as you're buying a portion of that person's life. Yeah. You're buying his time. You're not just buying the product is the outcome, but you're actually paying for a portion of his time. And that's where being so authentically and unapologetically you really matters.
You spend $1 for me, you know where the dollar goes.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
It goes to my kids, it goes to Brandon's kids, it goes to Debbie and her family, it goes to Rochelle. I mean, you know where it goes. It's not just amorphous, thing, right?
Yep.
The dollar goes out and just goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also reflected in our product promise, right? Our product warranty. More recently, we kind of have a product promise written on our website, but I, for years, have just said, well, if you have a problem, you know who to talk to. Yeah. That's the warranty. That's the product promise is, you know where I am, you know where to find me, I can't hide.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, you come talk to me, right? You don't have to call a 1-800 number. You don't have to call, and send something back to China or wherever it's going to be, right? You walk in here and say, hey, buddy, there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a pair of hands here taking responsibility for that.
That's the product promise. That's the warranty we give on our products.
And that's really powerful. And that should be commended as well. The view that you take and many other makers take, that you just don't get if you don't shop independently.
Yeah, and as you scale, obviously, you have to make some sacrifices and push and pulls and things like that. I mean, nowadays when you call, you're probably going to talk to Debbie, you're going to talk to Rochelle or Riley.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, but that's just because we have to scale the business a bit, but it's still us. Yeah. This is never going to be a company. My goal is never to have this company of 50 people. Yeah. This is going to be a company of, 7 to 12 people. You're going to know the personalities. Now, we talked earlier, I mean, obviously, it's Odin Leather Goods, but we want to express that Odin Leather Goods is not just Odin. Yeah. Odin Leather Goods is a combination of Odin and these other people on the team that make things happen, because I couldn't do it all by myself.
Well, what's interesting about that, and it's definitely worthwhile saying in the podcast, is we arrived to speak to Odin Leather Goods, and for the first 15 minutes, Odin talked about everyone in his team before he said, oh, by the way, I'm Odin, So that was cool, and again, I need to commend you for that. How important has it been building this team? And what about for other people, like looking to scale up? What has it given you guys? What has it meant to you to build this team?
Okay, so the lesson to take away that I would tell now is scale and build a team faster.
Right.
The reason why you don't scale and build a team faster is because of fears and other things that you're worried about. You're worried about losing control. You're worried about paying people. You're worried about bring people on the team and not be able to take care of them the way they need to be taken care of, so forth, so on. So I'll use Brandon as an example. I love talking about Brandon. The first time Brandon helped me on the website, Brandon helped me in the workshop like 6 years ago. We were working on some project, and I remember distinctly remembering, damn, it's like we have 2 people in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was 2 people in there, and you got twice as much work done. That seems like such a novel thing. Like, well, of course, but it wasn't really clear that if you bring somebody else in to help you, you'll get twice as much done, and you'll get more efficiencies. And so, and certainly I'd still like to bring more people in, but there's a fear in there also because you want to take care of the team, and it's easier to take care of a small team than a bigger team. But there's no way I could manage my consulting work, workshop work, the stuff that goes in the office, bookkeeping and ordering and all that kind of stuff, managing the retail store, sweeping the floors, paying bills, just me. I thought I could. Honestly, I'll be quite honest. I thought I could. I had this master plan, like, okay, I'm going to spend an hour doing this, 30 minutes doing this. I'm going to drive out there. That's 15 minutes. I'm going all these different plans. It was ridiculous. There's no way that would have happened. And fortunate enough, the people that have joined the team have been kind enough to share with me and say, dude, calm down. We got this.
Nice.
Everything from like managing the retail store. Debbie does this a lot. She's kind of like my in-house therapist. She calms me down a lot. My wife does the same thing. My wife steps in and she takes over certain things. Even shipping, a small business like this, we could spend half a day just shipping packages.
Yep.
Well, how do I do that and do everything else at the same time? Now, after and I'm going to say this, I mean this, they've trained me to calm down. They've trained me to realize that I don't have to do it on my own. They've trained me to realize that they've got under control. I don't worry about what's shipping. Debbie, Riley, Rochelle take care of shipping.
Yeah.
Brandon, he sets his own work today because he knows exactly what needs to happen around here when it needs to happen, right? And my role has just changed over years, and that's because the team has grown. And finding the right people for the team has been very important.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that I'm blessed with the team we have.
Yep.
I didn't have some magic formula to find the people. They were given to us. They came to us, okay? And they've worked out tremendously well. And I can't imagine having the team. I can't imagine doing this without them now. But it wasn't because I, just, snapped my fingers and people just showed up. I mean, now, if anything, people come and they want jobs. I'm like, you got to interview with everybody else, buddy. You got to talk to everybody else because I can't afford for you to mess up my team. I can't afford for you to
yeah, man. One crack grows.
Piss Brandon off when he can't work and he doesn't want to come to work. We've had that happen, by the way. We need people that are going to slot into the team well. I don't need someone that's going to come here that my wife or Brandon or Debbie don't want to work with or can't handle working with.
Yeah.
I mean, we all compromise. We all.
Yeah, of course. There's give and take with
it's
all
work,
that, but ultimately the team's as strong as the weakest link.
Team's more important,
Yeah. You mentioned there as well, you're building this team and on the face of it, it's bananas that you still have a contracting job and a consulting job. Yeah. How big does Odin need to be for you to walk away from that? It doesn't feel like it's a financial thing at the moment. It feels like it's just you really love doing both. I
do love doing both. Not at the moment every day, right? I mean, certainly it is stressful at times, but I built a career in that other space over the last 20 years, and I'm not ready to let that go. But there's another piece to that, and just being transparent, the other piece of that is, if I was working in the business full time, I didn't have the other job, I'd be taking up 1 or 2 slots. The team would be 2 people smaller at least, if not half, even if not more. So my wife, for instance, I don't know if my wife would be in the business if I was in the business like that. So by me taking on the other work allowed her to leave her job. So it's kind of like you have to share, to grow the dream, you have to share the dream.
Okay.
That's how I look at it, So yeah, I mean, some days I wish I wasn't doing other work, and other days I thoroughly enjoy it. But by doing the other work, I can have 2 more people, if not 3 more people here in the business.
Okay.
Right. So that's a sacrifice you make to allow this to grow further.
Yeah, and it helps my anxiety also, right? Because I know there's always a way to balance things out. I mean, it's what do you call, you have to diversify your investments.
Yep.
I'm diversifying my investments.
By just working all the time.
By working, and family's taken care of, there's insurance and healthcare and all that kind of stuff, I don't mind working all the time because I can control that.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's a little, I don't know. Maybe it's not sustainable, indefinitely, but right now it helps me manage my anxiety.
But right now it's working.
It's working for me, and it has for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the future.
Do you think there's a fear to let go of that? Do you think that puts more pressure on Odin Leather Goods?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not an artist, man. I'm not an artist. And what I mean by that is, I don't believe that starving artist thing. No.
Nah.
No. We all of us need to eat good around here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I'm not into that whole where I'm just gonna, I'm all so passionate about my craft that I'm just gonna eat sardines and Spam and rice crackers or whatever, and I'm just gonna get by. No, I'm not doing that. I just work harder.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's value to that as well, and we have seen it, people that we've featured early on that had that approach, or people that we spoke to and we know personally that have had that approach, that have actually just made themselves sick of doing the craft part.
Yeah.
Made themselves sick of the bit that they love because they were relying on it too much.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, running a business is stressful. Big
Oh
or
man,
small.
yeah.
I mean, there's so many ins and outs, and when your meals and your kids, you got kids at home and a wife at home that are dependent on you. And my wife, kids are dependent on me, but I balance the stress by having some other additional incomes and things like that I try to bring on. But even this business, we've diversified what we make money off of here. We have the retail store, we have our corporate work and big orders that we do here. We do events.
Yeah.
Now we're doing classes here. That's all just adding more into the hopper so that we can make sure that the core team is taken care of at all times.
Yeah. That seems to be really important. And a lot of makers are doing the class things really important.
Yeah,
a lot of
workshop
makers are
classes.
pulling in classes and workshops, and I can't see how it's a bad idea.
It's something I always thought was a good idea, but I was never able to visualize how to pull it off.
Right.
So we go back to my team. Rochelle and Debbie have figured that out.
Nice.
I knew it was a good idea, but given the 3,000 other things I'm doing during the day, I could not just take care of it. I mean, if I had gotten out of my own way a year and a half, 2 years ago, we would have been doing classes way back then. We would have been better off. But I just couldn't process it. So finally, they've pushed it through, and it's been great. And we're doing we'll have 2 or 3 classes this month.
That's great. That's a lot as well.
That's a lot.
That's
Gets
really
people
good.
in the doors. It increases our sphere of influence.
Yep.
It gets the brand out there more and more. It gives us content. It does all these positive things for us that, again, I wish we would have been doing this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, granted, 2 years ago we were in a different space.
Yeah.
The other space
That's always a
2 years
chase,
ago,
though, isn't it? You always
man.
think I should have been doing it earlier, and actually, was that the right time?
But the other space was not comfortable. We couldn't. It was large enough, but we couldn't have. It was either too hot or too cold in there. So this space allows us more flexibility too. So that's good.
So finding the right space is what's allowed this to grow.
Yeah, it's helped.
So you're doing everything under this roof, literally packings at the back, retails at the front, packings at the back. How important has that been for you with everything else going on, from a team management point of view, for a growth of the business, having one space that does everything?
I don't know. I mean, if we didn't have this large space, we'd work it out some kind of way. I'm confident that the team would have worked out. We probably would have done more stuff out of the other store. The other store is much smaller.
Right.
But it would have been diversified some kind of way. We would have figured that out. It's nice to have everything here. I do my other work from here as well.
Yep.
That's comfortable. I have one space. But I'll bet on us and say that at some point in time in the future, we'll need more space.
Yeah, I think that's quite a part.
And we'll have to kind of decentralize a bit more. Either this space will increase, the retail footprint will increase, or the workshop footprint will increase. Right. Don't know what's going to happen, but we're ready. We're here for all of it.
Yeah.
When it happens, we'll make a decision. We'll huddle up, and we'll figure out what we need to move around here, and we'll, you can't. I know we won't be able to be in this space 100% indefinitely. We're probably going to have another retail store at some point in time.
Yep.
We'll have to spread the team out more. Some things will have to be done here. Some things will have to be done there. If things continue to go the way we want them to go in the production space, we'll need more space here.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a workshop space where people can come see, and maybe this eventually turns into just class space.
Yeah.
Right? Retail comes back here, more class space here, and Brandon is managing his empire of workers someplace else. We'll see.
And what about, you mentioned their future retail space and stuff. Do you have any immediate goals that you want to talk about? Anything that's coming up that you think?
I don't know if there's any, so yes, I know we need to get another retail space. I want to do that. We're just looking for the right one.
Yep.
I think we have a bit of a personality now or vibe that we're after in terms of retail space, the type of foot traffic we want, the type of environment and neighborhood we want to be in. And there's some spaces here in the area, in the Dallas, which is a really big area.
Yeah.
Dallas Fort Worth is massive, but there's some there's some areas of Dallas-Fort Worth that I think would serve us well. And if the right opportunity came up, I think I'm more willing to jump on them now.
Nice.
A couple of years ago, like that would be the scariest thing. It's still scary. It would be a big investment, but I think we're in a better position now where after having done the retail thing for 3.5 years or so, it's easier for me to imagine signing my name to those things, getting that money and growing out another space, you know. It's easier to imagine. Not easier, not easy, but
but easier to imagine. There's about confidence there, though, isn't there?
There's a bit more confidence, you know. The idea of signing a lease for, you know, $4,000 a month, you know, was terrifying a couple of years ago. Now it's like, I do the math, I do the quick math in my head. I was like, okay, I got to sell many, I put everything in terms of belts.
Yeah.
Okay, how many belts do I have to sell? Okay, I can sell as many belts. And I go through the process. Like, okay, we could probably pull that off.
Nice.
You know, got my day job.
Yep.
I got my team. You know, if it goes great, it's going to do this. If it
bonkers
doesn't go,
that you keep saying it's your day job. It's bonkers, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's crazy to me too, but it allows me to dream a little more.
Yeah.
And I have on the high end, if we do extremely well, I know what will come out of it. If we just break even, I know what will come out. If we can handle that also, and it just helps.
Yeah. Do you know, it's given me a lot to think about this, and I think people that are listening to as well, because I've kind of been an all-in kind of guy. And I say I've been an all-in kind of guy, I kind of recommend other people go all in, and then I've got a day job and this as well, so maybe I'm just a hypocrite. But it seems that what that's given you is just allowed this to be built, and you've still got a passion for this. And I think that's really important. It's a really important message to get along. We don't have to do this, I'm just going to go all in and I'm going to make it work because it's the tough guy internet thing to do. You know, it's all well and good. You know, a lot of the makers we speak to have got, you know, partners or wives with, you know, really good jobs, or husbands with really good jobs, and that have got maybe in the US maybe healthcare, and that's all cool. Yeah. That's all cool. You're just on your own journey and make your own journey work. And if you've got a benefit somewhere that makes your journey work better for you, why would you not leverage it? There's no credit in this whole, I'm just roughing it out.
I mean, maybe if I was fresh out of college or high school or something, maybe. But now when you have people depending on you, your family, your kids, your wife, your team, I think the stakes just change a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm risk adverse with regards to going to get debt and things like that. I'm not adverse to working though.
Yeah.
I'm not adverse to working 16-hour days. I'm not adverse to being here until midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, which I still frequently hear until, you know, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I know a lot of people else would hate that. And it's not always great, but I don't hate it. That's something I can control.
Yeah.
What I can't control is the economy. I can't control necessarily how many customers come through the door. I can't control, you know, all these other factors, right? I'm not willing to relinquish control yet. I'm not willing to say, well, we'll just see how things happen. You know, no, I'm not with that at all. I like to be a little more calculated. I'm not a gambler either.
Yeah.
Right. Work, I can work.
Yeah.
I may be tired, but I know I can get up. I know I can put in the time. I mean, obviously there's a balancing act that happens because, you know, I'm constantly encouraged by my team to leave here and go home, right? You know, I'm trying right now, I'm in a season where I'm trying to make sure I'm not here. 2 days a week, I go home at like 5 or 6 o'clock, which seems like that's all, but that's a big deal for me, okay? Versus 5 or 6 days a week where I'm here until from 8 a.m. to, you know, midnight.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, I don't complain about being here from 8 a.m. to midnight. I enjoy it. I mean, this is my space where I enjoy being, and not, you know, this is kind of my man cave also. I mean, I'd rather be here working on stuff than at home sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I do need to be home, and so I'm trying to find that balance that way.
Yeah. But you also have the balance of always taking the kids to school and stuff, and their hard boundaries that you've set, which I think are important and are important for other makers, you know.
I mean, I don't have a lot of hard boundaries. That's one of them, is I want to take my kids to school.
That's good.
I call them, I talk to them on a regular basis, you know. I love for them to come up here and be in this space with me. There are a few things that I'm pretty locked into.
Nice. I don't want to take loads of your time because you do still have a shop and a business to run. Is there anything we've not covered that you want to cover while we're here?
No, I don't really think so. I think, you know, you give me a chance to talk about, go from pillar to post.
Yeah.
And
it's been really interesting to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thanks for asking the questions and allowing me the space to tell my story. as I shared before, I'll just ramble. I enjoy talking about this stuff. I enjoy sharing with other makers. I
You're
enjoy
very
hearing maker
clearly
stories.
highly passionate about this.
I do. I'm passionate about leather work, but I think just as equally passionate about the maker community.
Yeah.
And sewing into that and things that come out of it. I think our success in the future will have something to do with further supporting that community.
Yeah.
Leathercraft community, yes, but then the maker community as a whole, I think we're going to do some more work in that space.
Nice.
So lots of good stuff to come.
Do you think you'll walk with Bill on another one of these getaways?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go. I mean, I would love Bill. I mean, going to Italy with him was outstanding. That was a thing. That was all about making sneakers. I used to call them tennis shoes. They admonished me for calling them tennis shoes. They're not tennis shoes. They're sneakers.
Right.
I'm a boot guy. I like to wear boots every day. I know nothing about sneakers.
Yeah.
But that was really cool. That was a part of leathercraft that I had never experienced and participated in.
So it's not a thing across the pond. Out with
Sneakers?
Yeah, not like custom sneakers is not a thing. Like we had this discussion with Bill because he was asking, would they be seen as knockoffs? And I'm like, no, I think they would still be seen as like really cool custom things. But it's just not a world I'm exposed
It's
to.
a subculture that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
I see it, but I didn't get it. There are people that buy sneakers. They're sneakerheads. They have tons and tons of sneakers, which I'm
So
like.
that's the side I'm aware of.
Okay, so
not
there's
the custom
that.
build.
But then there's the customizing where they paint the sneakers, and then there's the bespoke sneakers, which is what Bill and that group tend to do, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they go all in, and they're doing outstanding work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even wear sneakers for the most part. I have like one pair of sneakers that'll last me for the next 6 years, and I'll beat the crap out of them. Right? They are really serious about theirs, but it's still leather work.
Yeah.
It's still leather work.
Absolutely.
And so one of my things is in terms of what I want to be able to do as time allows me to do this is I want to be able to experience other parts of leather work. I want to make a saddle. I'd love to make a saddle.
Yeah.
One. I want to make multiple. Right? I want to learn how to make boots. I want to learn how to do better making sneakers. I want to be able to do all these different things. Not because I want to sell them in the store. I'll probably do it once and never do it again. But I do want to be able to experience all aspects of leathercraft.
Yeah.
One thing I tell a lot of the leathercrafts that come around here is just know leathercraft isn't just Western stuff. Leathercraft isn't just making saddles and Western patterns. It's not just shoes. It's very, very broad. It's a material that can be used in 1,001 different ways.
Yeah.
Go out there and check it out.
Yeah.
If you buy your leather just from one vendor, you probably imagine that it's just this one specific type of leather. In fact, this type of leather here, a lot of people think is we call this vegetable tan leather, and for so many people they think that this is what it looks like. But that whole rack back there is all vegetable tan leather. It comes in tons and tons of colors and shades of leathers and finishes and things like that. It's all vegetable tan leather.
Yeah.
But depending on where you buy your leather from, you may not realize that.
Yeah.
Bill sells vegetable tan leather, and Tandy sells vegetable tan. All these different people sell vegetable tan leather.
Yeah.
Get out there and experience all of it.
Yeah,
See
absolutely.
all of it.
And if we can convince Ben twist his arm to run a course,
Yeah.
let's get a
Great.
course.
I'd take his course. Why not?
Dude, you would love it. Ben is, I'll say it live, Ben is my new man crush.
Yeah.
Like, spending time with Ben was wicked.
Incredible Hulk over there. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's very knowledgeable too.
Oh man, he's an intelligent
Oh
dude.
man, it's very knowledgeable. He was in the service, I believe, for a long period of time. He has a different approach. I like his methodical approach to work. I like his approach to history and understanding what he's doing and why he's doing it. I've talked to him, but I've also heard several interviews, and they're always very interesting.
Do you know we posted our daily reel to say that we'd spent time with Ben, and someone who's not a maker, who served with Ben, dropped into our DMs and was like,
cool.
I served with him. He was a wicked guy when I served with him. I'm really pleased you're featuring him. I was like, that's a guy in a totally different side of Ben's life.
Yeah.
It's very clear that Ben's the same guy throughout. He just happens to be doing a different craft now. For me, that was like,
He's impressive.
this dude's got it.
He's impressive.
Yeah, he is.
And honestly, there's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
There's so many stories like these people who come from these different varied backgrounds who are doing these amazing things that there's more to them than just the tooling or just the bag or just the thing that they're making. And honestly, I like to get to know all of them.
Yeah. Well, for me, what it really enforced is good people succeed. Like if you're just a good, honest guy, you work hard, you'll do all right.
Yeah.
There's a
As long
space
as you
for
define your own success.
Yes. Yeah.
Define your own success, what success is for you, and then go after that.
Yeah. Don't chase someone else's metrics for success.
Yeah, that's a rough way to live, and I'll keep preaching that for a while. And I'm preaching it so other people know, but I'm also preaching it to remind
yourself.
me,
Yeah.
that don't chase other people.
Nice.
Well, I've got one last question. Sure. What advice would you give your younger self?
Take more risk. Go Go broke early.
Okay.
Go broke early. If the one piece of advice, not related to leathercraft, just business in general, go broke early.
Right.
If you're going to go bust at 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah,
You can recover, right?
Yeah.
As you get older, you have more responsibilities and teams and families and kids. The idea of losing it all gets scarier and scarier and scarier, okay? I wish I would have just laid it on the line and not been so conservative when I was younger.
Okay.
Even in this business, my fearfulness and my conservativeness kept me from taking big risks because I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to, risk too much. But if I had done some things earlier in this business life 10 years ago, we've been further along now. Go broke early, take the big risk up front. The older you get, the longer you take, the scarier it gets.
I think that's really good.
But never too late either.
Yeah.
Never too late either. I mean, there's ways to hedge your bets. There's ways to have backup plans. But overall, the biggest piece of advice we give my younger self is just swing for it. Go broke. You have a support structure. If you're living out your car because you took a big risk and it didn't work out, you know what? You recover.
Yeah.
You have time to recover. You tried it. You learned a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And guess what? What you probably learned, what I probably would have learned then is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Now, the equations are a little different. I got a wife and kids.
Yep.
I got team members I want to take care of, see taken care of, right? I'm not as, I don't want to live in fear, but also don't want to be foolish.
Yeah.
At 18 years old, be foolish.
Yeah.
On yourself.
Yeah.
Don't go buy cars. Don't go do silly
Bet on
stuff.
you.
Bet on you, though. Invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Do that thing. Take that course. Take that class. Buy that house. Buy that. Invest in this thing.
Yeah.
Just gonna learn from it. And if it doesn't work out, okay, get back on the horse and try it again.
Nice one. Thank you.
Well, dude, I've really enjoyed,
really enjoyed
this
it.
My
podcast.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
I
Yeah,
think
me too.
if anyone takes anything from this, it's that what you see with the big Instagram following and everything that's preached on Instagram,
more
you're
to
the
it.
real deal.
Well, thank you.
You are the real deal, and there is layers and layers and layers to this.
Well, thank you so much. I hope I'm presenting a transparent view of myself
Oh yeah,
and the team. So.
yeah. The people that we've met in the South, and I hope that everyone that we've podcasted with has been the same. And the people in the South, there's definitely transparency is almost not a thing because you just are as you are.
That's cool.
And I think that's really cool. That's
Yeah,
really
I
really
think
cool,
so.
and you're
I
no
agree.
different. So.
Well, as Southerners, we appreciate you recognizing how charming we are.
Dude, we've
That's
loved
awesome.
it. We'll wrap it up at that, and thanks again. I really
Likewise.
appreciate it, mate.
You two are welcome back here anytime.
No, thank
Well,
you.
we'll be back.